Before we get into this special weekend edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98, for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Dr. Oran Smith is a senior fellow at the Palmetto Promise Institute, where he's developed a reputation as a trusted advisor and public policy scholar during his many, many years of service in the Palmetto State. Dr. Smith joins us on our guest line. Welcome. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Always great to talk to you, Joey.
Always good to talk with you as well. For anyone who has tried to get a quick appointment with their doctor, they understand just how bad things are in the medical field. You guys wrote this week, on average, Americans must wait 20 days to receive an appointment with a physician. Now, as someone who experienced a bad situation just a few years ago, it's not fun to be in pain and not be able to see a doctor. And through the efforts of a lot of people, including your team at Palmetto Promise, we were able to repeal the certificate of need just over a year ago, and we're going to be seeing the benefits of that in the coming years. But the reality is we just need more doctors. We have a shortage of physicians in the U.S. and in South Carolina particularly, and it affects all of us. It's not getting any better anytime soon, it doesn't appear. Talk with us, Dr. Smith, about this troubling situation.
Yes. South Carolina, of course, is the fastest growing state in the union. U-Haul recently reported that this is where the U-Hauls are being rented to go to, which puts a lot of pressure on the healthcare system. A lot of doctors who go to medical schools in the state were able to keep many of them in the state, but others have opportunities elsewhere and do not choose to stay in South Carolina. We've also got an army of physicians, assistants, and nurse practitioners who work with doctors to cover healthcare demands in the state of South Carolina. So as we're looking to expand both the supply of doctors and also the capability for seeing patients, we've been looking at how to expand the doctor pool, but also how to give some flexibility to nurse practitioners and physicians' assistants to help with that crucial work.
Yeah. As I understand it, and reading the article that you guys wrote just recently, nationwide, the shortage is projected to continue to get worse. By 2036, there will be a deficit of up to 86,000 doctors. And again, this is in South Carolina. The crisis is pretty severe in that case. So, Palmetto Promise, you guys, you have an idea to cure, pun intended, the problem here with Senate Bill 376. You believe this would help solve the problem. Talk with us about what S376 would do.
Well, there are a couple of things that we can do. One is to look at international doctors. We have in countries with very similar medical practices to our own, and they're ready to practice in the United States. And this legislation lays out how that could take place. It even lists the countries that we feel would be the best fit for physicians that could come here and practice. So this is sort of an untapped market, and many of the rules that we have that are not citizenship related, they're just training related. They prevent these doctors from being able to practice, and in some cases, it just might have them repeat training that they already have. So this would pave the way for that. And then just this week, Joey, I don't know if you've even seen this yet, we published a piece that would allow pharmacists to help with this crisis. And it's a concept known as test and treat. And that's where if there is a test that a pharmacist can administer that would indicate the need for a particular drug, the pharmacist then could essentially prescribe that drug or provide that drug. So this is we're right in the middle probably of flu season or coming up, and you have these tests that can be done. Clearly you have the flu. Clearly this is what you need to take. It would keep people out of the emergency room and keep people out of doctor's offices because of it being so simple and something that could be done right in a pharmacy.
Wow. That would really help. So as mentioned, this is not a problem that is unique to the Palmetto State. What are other states doing?
Other states are trying a number of different things. The state of North Carolina, which is an innovator and in sometimes a challenge to South Carolina because they are innovating in so many areas, tax reductions, tax cuts, and anything to attract industry they're very good at. But they've also done some things in these exact areas, the international part, the pharmacist part. They've even done a few things related to physician's assistants and nurse practitioners to get them on the front lines a little bit better. So it's kind of a mixture of all these things. Another possible solution that is not necessarily legislation yet, and that is, a physician essentially supervises or coordinates the works of nurse practitioners and physician's assistants. And most physicians in South Carolina do not oversee or work with up to the limit of the number that they are allowed to kind of have in their stable of folks in their practice. So if every physician were to meet that number and have the total number that they are allowed, that would also expand the market. So how to get more relationships between nurse practitioners, physician's assistants, and physicians. Not sure exactly how that can be done, but this new grant that's coming down from the Department of Health and Human Services nationally, this rural help grant, those funds could possibly be used in that way. So that initiative from RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz and that team, that could be transformative for South Carolina if we apply for those funds and ask for the right things to help our situation here.
Sure, yeah. Dr. Oran Smith is our guest today. He's a senior fellow at the Palmetto Promise Institute. For additional information and to read some of the articles that we're talking about, go to palmettopromise.org, palmettopromise.org. Dr. Smith, let's talk for a minute. Let's go back. How would this work? I mean, would physicians from just around the world be invited to move to South Carolina? Or you mentioned a minute ago that there was a list of countries. Would we be targeting certain countries that we would be recruiting from?
I think we would definitely be welcoming countries that have very similar medical training and experiences that are required to South Carolina. And there are a number of different standards that are laid out in the bill. And frankly, those the standards and the particular provisions of that international physicians legislation could easily be modified as it goes through the House. In this case, I think it's going to start in the Senate. Of course, it's a Senate bill, so there could be a House companion, but right now it's more of a Senate effort. But I think that the particular requirements that we would expect, they would need to be of the level that the General Assembly is comfortable with as we seek these physicians. And I think that's why we're choosing certain countries that we know very much what their training is like. It's very similar to ours, but it essentially prevents the international doctors from having to start all over or to cover coursework and training that they have already received, and just recognizes some of that training to speed up that process.
Yeah.
But the many provisions of it are still being negotiated.
Yeah. And the other question that comes to mind, Dr. Smith, is if you have a person who has gone to medical school, they've trained to be a doctor in their country, one would assume that they are doing that because they want to help people in their country. Why would a physician leave their home country to move to South Carolina?
Yes. Well, of course, America is the beacon of the world.
Yep.
It's where you want to live, if you want to enjoy freedom. And, freedom is somewhat relative. The freedom that we enjoy in South Carolina versus, say, the United Kingdom, you might think, well, that's really not that different. But I think a lot of international doctors, and many of these that would be kind of in the original pool, will be from English-speaking countries.
Yeah.
There's more freedom in the United States on a lot of fronts than in those countries. So it's still the place everyone wants to be. So it's a very interesting situation that America is where everyone wants to be. And then within America, according to the statistics that we're reading, South Carolina is where everyone wants to be. So in a sense, you take that to its full extent, and you're saying people around the world want to be in South Carolina. Yeah. So if we can build on that in a way that's safe, in a way that we have confidence in the ability of these physicians to practice at the level that we expect, it's really something that we just should not allow to not happen, and find a way to happen. And, it may have to be a pilot project, or it may be some limited form to see sort of how it works and the mechanics of it. But it's
Sure.
definitely an option that we need to have on the table in South Carolina.
Yeah. And then one final question on this subject, and then we've got a couple other things I want to pivot to, Dr. Smith. Why do other countries have a surplus of doctors? I mean, how are they getting people to go to med school, and we evidently cannot?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not fully up to speed on whether there is a surplus or if there's just such a draw to the United States.
Yeah.
That causes physicians that, in some cases they might be more needed in their home countries, but they would just simply rather be in the United States. That is my perception.
I gotcha.
But,
okay.
Some of the smaller countries we're talking about here may have an oversupply of doctors, but my perception is it's just the attraction of being in the United States, maybe even to a path to citizenship in the United States.
I see. Yeah. Dr. Oran Smith with Palmetto Promise Institute is our guest. Now, let's pivot to a topic that you and I have talked about many times in the past few years, nuclear energy. Give us an update on the VC Summer project. Has the state finalized a deal to get those reactors finished and up and running?
Well, when Santee Cooper, the state-owned electrical utility, and SC Electric and Gas, also known as SCANA, went together to build VC Summer Units 2 and 3, and they just were unable to build those reactors, even though Georgia just finished theirs. The South Carolina companies were not willing to go into the overage of expense to the ratepayers that Georgia was willing to swallow. Not sure. We thought Georgia was making a mistake, but maybe now we're looking at it in a different way, because the federal government is saying that nuclear energy is something that we favor. And of course, that's how VC Summer 2 and 3 were proposed in the first place. It's because at that time, the administration was very nuclear friendly and pushing tax breaks and other incentives for nuclear. So here we are again, we're looking at these mothballed reactors sitting there in Jenkinsville, in Fairfield County. And I think I know I had, just from studying it, that those were going to sit there mothballed forever.
Yeah.
But then Santee Cooper, which now owns those assets, said, what if we were able to sell these reactors to a company that would get them up and running, and then that company would be able to supply that power. And one thing we wanted was, we have been critical of Santee Cooper. We've primarily been critical of Santee Cooper because they are a state agency, and we just don't think the state ought to be in the power generation and selling business. So we did not want Santee Cooper, that brought us many of these problems, to be running the reconstruction and upfitting of VC Summer 2 and 3. And the way this request for proposal that Santee Cooper put out was that the organization that they contracted with would have complete control, and they would, in essence, be running them. So they have received many bids. The board of Santee Cooper picked a winner of the bidding process, and they have a firm that they feel that has the experience and the ability to complete these reactors. So I think all of that is very positive. Nuclear energy has been a form of energy generation that we have had a little bit of a romance with in the United States, but then we got away from it, and I think it's time we get back to it.
Yeah, and it appears that we are getting back to it under Trump 2.0. Just this past week, the Department of Energy announced that they're going to be using their loan program pretty much exclusively for nuclear projects. And it would seem to me that since VC Summer is ahead of the game construction-wise, I mean, this could potentially benefit this project as well. I mean, I can't think of a more shovel-ready project than VC Summer. It could be completed certainly much faster than if you started from ground zero. So I think the Trump administration once again is saying that they recognize that nuclear energy is the future, or at least a major part of the future of energy. So hopefully we're going to see VC Summer turned around and open, and you and I can stop talking about it.
Right. Well, that would certainly be great, particularly if a private company is going to be taking control and leading it instead of a government agency. And that would be very, very exciting to see that happen. And a lot of it's being driven by demand. Again, we talked about how many folks are moving into South Carolina, but then data centers are being built all over the country, and particularly in South Carolina, they need a lot of energy. We haven't been critics of data centers. Data centers are necessary, and if they were allowed to do it, they would generate their own power.
Right.
But the situation we have now is they have to buy it from a utility.
Yeah.
We'd like to see that change too, by the way.
Yeah.
But this way, these data centers will have access to the energy that they need as well.
Dr. Oran Smith with Palmetto Promise Institute, thank you again for your time today. Appreciate what you guys do. Go to palmettopromise.org, palmettopromise.org, and see all the great work that they're doing there. I hope you have a great weekend. Joey Hudson here, and this is it. PhD Weight Loss is running their best deal ever for Black Friday, and it's happening right now. They're waiving your consultation fee, adding 2 free weeks to your program, and even covering the cost of your food. Just mention the promo code BESTDEAL when you call, and you'll get a discount I can't even say on the air. Every year, the holidays hit, the pounds creep on, and by January, we're all back at the gym. But what if you could finish the year already feeling lighter, stronger, and more confident? That's what happens with PhD Weight Loss. Their metabolic reset system teaches your body to burn fat first, naturally and sustainable. I lost over 30 pounds with PhD, and it changed everything. My coach helped me through travel, holidays, parties. I actually enjoyed the season and lost weight. So don't wait. For Black Friday only, they're offering their best deal ever. Consultation free waived. 2 free weeks. Their 5 steps to reset the scale book, and your food is absolutely covered. Call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900. Mention Best Deal or visit online at myphdweightloss.com. A Greenwood woman and mother of 5 was granted parole this week after serving 6 years for the 2017 death of her boyfriend during a domestic dispute. Tiffany Carroll was arrested and charged with voluntary manslaughter in 2019 after stabbing her boyfriend in the chest during an argument and following a history of abuse. She was denied parole in 2022, again in 2023, and at one point the state parole board voted to approve her release, but did not obtain the necessary 2/3 majority to secure Ms. Carroll's freedom, as a certain violent crimes carry a higher threshold for release. One parole member at the time abstained from voting while another was absent from the hearing. But fortunately for Ms. Carroll, she had a group of advocates who would not give up because they knew that she should be at home raising her children in her community. This week, that all paid off. On our guest line to give us an update is Representative John McCravy. Welcome. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Joey.
Well, what a big win this week. What good news. Now, before we get to that good news, for our listeners who maybe aren't familiar with the case, give us a quick overview of what happened and how you became involved.
Joey, this came to my attention as a representative in in District 13, Greenwood. One of my constituents, unbeknownst to me, back in 2019, went to jail. She had been abused by this man over and over again. They had called the law to the house at least 8 times before this happened. And, she was scared. She was scared to press charges. And I hope women out there can understand that they need to take care of things with law enforcement. They will take care of you and help you. But anyway, at one point, the neighbors even reported that she was being stomped by this man out in her front yard.
Wow.
While she was holding a baby. And the neighbors had to pull him off of her. So this is what had been going on, and she fought back, and the man died. He was a hemophiliac, and as a result, he didn't survive. When they came to the scene, she was trying to help him. But nevertheless, she pled guilty to manslaughter of some kind and got a pretty hefty sentence, but was eligible for early parole.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we when this came to my attention, I couldn't believe, what was going on. And Mary Ann Wingard, who was this girl's teacher all through elementary school, she came to me and told me what a nice person she was, how she had no criminal record, was one of the kindest, gentlest people she'd ever known, and she didn't deserve to go to jail. And so I started trying to work for her. I was convinced, Mary Ann's one of those ladies, she's that retired school teacher that can pretty much get you to do anything.
Yeah.
So she came and got me involved, and Travis Moore, Representative Moore from Spartanburg, was kind enough to help with this and become her attorney. I just continued to be a witness and an advocate for her. And we went down to the parole board, and at 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning, she was freed by the parole board by a vote of 4-2.
Yeah.
It was an amazing day. Thousands of people have been praying for this lady over and over again, and we're just so blessed and so happy. I've been working on it 2.5 years. So it was a culmination of a lot of work and a lot of prayer and the Lord's blessing on us.
Yeah. Representative John McCravey is with me today. There were a lot of people in the Greenwood community who were advocating for Miss Carroll's release. I mean, reading this story, and you brought it to my attention a while back. We've talked about it multiple times. People like the Greenwood City Police Chief, the solicitor,
yes.
All were saying, this lady does not deserve to be behind bars. What role did that type of support play in the parole board's decision this week?
I think it made a big impact, and I know one of those members, I won't mention their name, but that member, unless law enforcement recommended it, he would not let them out early. So look, our local police chief has never, I believe this is a correct statement, he has never asked for early release for anybody.
Yeah.
He wrote a letter on her behalf for parole. Our solicitor, who has never, in my knowledge, ever asked for somebody not to serve their sentence, he asked for parole for her. And even the sentencing judge, recognized it, and she's sitting on the Supreme Court now. But I think it's fair to say that she was sympathetic, because in her sentencing, she made her eligible for early parole.
Yeah.
So we had a great case going in. It's just tough in South Carolina to get parole for anybody.
Yeah.
But this was an unusual, and I've never asked for early release for anybody. But there's always a first, and there's always an exception to everything. And this lady needed to get back home to Greenwood to take care of her 5 children that miss her dearly.
Yeah.
So her actions were definitely excusable and understandable, and in this situation. So, man, I'm so glad she's back. It's an answer to prayer.
Yeah. Representative McCravey, when you look back on this case, and I think I probably read everything I could possibly find on it, you see this history of violence against Miss Carroll by her then boyfriend, William Jamal Johnson. As you mentioned, police responded to the home many, many times. Neighbors seeing this man just stomping her with one of her babies in her hands. Should she have ever been in prison to begin with?
Well, let me say this. I mean, there's some things I think that need to be corrected. I think we ought to have some kind of mandatory prosecution, whether the scared person who's being abused is going to actually step up and speak out against her abuser. I think the state ought to do it.
Yeah.
You know, there comes a point where it's pretty obvious what's going on. And, you know, some of these women fear for their life.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and she had reason to fear for her life, believe me. So also I've thought, you know, battered women syndrome is not really recognized as any kind of defense by itself. It's a factor, but it's not a defense. I think if you've got a woman who's been beaten like that, we should have some kind of law that says, you know, if she's been diagnosed with battered women syndrome, she ought to have immunity to prosecution of some kind.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to look at that too. It's very difficult. Criminal law is a difficult area to change because it has so many ramifications with it. But man, I tell you, there had to be at some point, looking back at the history of this, when you got neighbors that are out there seeing her being abused, isn't that enough evidence to go ahead and bring a case?
One would think.
You know, I think the law enforcement should probably be empowered to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
And look, nobody loves our law enforcement more than I do.
Yeah.
And I think I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying maybe there's something in the system we can change. Maybe there's a law we can change to make sure these people are prosecuted. You know.
Yeah.
So
well,
anyway.
give law enforcement some tools that they can have some discretion in cases like this, because you know I'm sure it was very difficult for law enforcement to go out there, know the danger that she was in, and not be able to do anything about it.
8 different times.
Yeah.
So you know that. Yeah, I think maybe there ought to be some kind of mandatory thing where they have a good excuse to go ahead and prosecute regardless of who's going to testify.
Yeah.
You know.
Representative
Let's just go ahead and get something done.
Representative John McCravy is with me today. All right, so let's talk about next steps here. What is next for Ms. Carroll? Will she immediately be released? I mean, what's the process here?
Well, it's a matter of a few days. So I think the process goes like this. You know, I'm not some big parole attorney. I've never tried to get anybody out but her. But my understanding is that the local probation officer has got to make sure, or parole officer has got to make sure that she has a residence, which she does. He's got to go verify that, or she, and then they have to verify that she is employed, which she's already got 2 job offers I know of. So that should be fairly quick, in a day or two. So I would imagine before Thanksgiving, she's going to be coming home and have a reunion with her 5 children who've been praying for her release and want to go back and live with her as soon as they can.
Yeah.
So,
and are there other programs out there? I mean, you don't just go from prison to being employed and supporting your family overnight. I mean, are there other programs out there that will potentially assist Ms. Carroll?
Well, you can, but nevertheless, yes, Beyond Abuse has said they would help her out. I know there are a couple of nonprofits who have said, look, we'll help her out. Just let us know.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be taken care of. And I'll tell you this, any need that she has in Greenwood, South Carolina, she's going to have met. All I got to do is put it on Facebook. If I say she needs something, it'll be done the same day.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the way this community works.
Yeah. Representative John McCravy, it's always a pleasure, and thank you. I mean, this is just a great story to hear how you and others in the community rallied around this woman, and it's just a good example of the system working the way it should.
Well, you know, Joey, I care about all my constituents, and she's one of my constituents, and I'm going to work as hard for her as anybody else. So I'm privileged to be able to do this. So thank you, Joey.
Well, thanks for going the extra mile and not giving up, you and Representative Travis Moore and others who were involved in this, because, you know, again, looking back over the case, there were times there that it looked like this probably was not going to happen, but it did, just simply because you guys did not give up on her, and now maybe she'll be able to spend Thanksgiving with her family. Representative McCravy, as always, good talking with you.
Same to you, Joey. Thank you for getting this out. We appreciate you.
Joining us on our guest line, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette. Welcome, and how are you?
I'm doing great, Joey. I hope you're doing well, too. Are you getting all ready for Thanksgiving? It's coming. I mean, 1 week from today.
I am ready. I'm more than ready. I'm ready for the holidays. I just have this great feeling about going into Thanksgiving and then anticipating Christmas, and it's going to be a good year.
Oh, my goodness. It really is. Okay, so let me ask you, because everybody's been asking this question to everybody lately. What is your favorite side?
Ooh, that's easy. Mac and cheese. Mac and cheese is my favorite side. Load up on carbs.
That's right. That's right. Well, I'm with you. That seems to be a fan favorite. You know, when this question gets asked, like around the table, mac and cheese is a big one. Yeah. Mac and cheese is good. I'm kind of a mashed potatoes and gravy kind of girl. Some good turkey gravy.
And I also prefer the turkey to be fried rather than baked or roasted or whatever you call it. I like the fried, the fried turkey. It just keeps it moist inside.
Well, I mean, leave it to a man to take a perfectly healthy piece of meat and make it unhealthy.
Look, well, if I'm going to be eating the mac and cheese, I don't know how healthy that is. So I might as well just throw the fried turkey in there as well. So
that's right. Just throw all caution to the wind. It's a holiday.
Yes, that's right. It is a holiday. Well, I'm looking forward to it, and it is we truly have a lot to be thankful for. So it will be a fun time. More news out of the VC Summer Project with a federal judge this week signing off on a $34 million settlement with former stockholders who claimed that the accounting firm Deloitte & Touche misrepresented audit reports to show progress on the project that really wasn't happening. I guess this is good for the shareholders, but this is just a fraction of the amount of money, of course, that was lost. Shouldn't these firms, and there's already been some criminal indictments in this project, but shouldn't these firms be held criminally liable as well?
Well, I mean, yes, if you can prove that it was willful, if there was collusion, between whoever they were working with on the project and themselves, I think, if you have bad people on the project, it's like any business person will tell you, stupidity is not criminal.
Yep.
And you have to be able to prove that it was willful. And if it was, Joey, I'm with you. I mean, we have got to really be tougher on the people in all forms of government, right, that we hire to do things. Because I can remember when I just got into the private sector, there was this idea that if you could do work for the government, you could overcharge and underperform because there was really nobody that was holding you accountable. And we need to do a good job of holding whoever we hire. I don't care, when government hires somebody, whether it's to build a bridge, to build a road, to build a building, to do accounting work, whatever the case may be, we should hold them to the same high standards that anybody would hold somebody to in the private sector. And that's why I've been talking so much about needing more business people in government, yep, right? Because exactly, as business owners, we would never accept that.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of my pitch. We've seen it with President Trump. He demands the same skill level and benchmarks that he demanded in the private sector. He's demanding, in government. And you can see he's had a lot of success because he's brought really seasoned business people into his cabinet. And they are really making a difference. I mean, the Democrats would have you think that, things aren't moving, but you talk to economists, everything the president's doing is moving us in the right direction. It's just the fact that people aren't patient. We allowed the Biden administration 4 years to, just mess up our economy. and we're giving President Trump 10 months to fix it.
Yeah.
So I think, like he's been saying, we have done and accomplished so many great things. Just be a little bit patient. Give him just a little bit of time to turn everything around.
Yep, he's good, but there are some limits. He's got a bunch of bureaucrats up there fighting him every step of the way, too. Which leads me to my next question for you. Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evans is with me today. On your Facebook page, I noticed a post that says we need to sunset the useless and outdated regulations that give too much power to bureaucrats and get in the way of business growth and innovation. What are some specific regulations that you see that should be eliminated?
Joey, there are so many regulations on the books, some of them so outdated. That's why I've been talking about, instead of going through one by one, we should sunset all of our regulations in bulk, bring them in front of the General Assembly, make them look at them. I mean, if we have a regulation that was written in 1950, do we really think it's even still relevant today? And, and then we should look at newer we should look at all of them, but on our newer ones, sometimes, and I think all of your listeners have felt this, if you call a state agency, if you call a federal agency, and you get three people, you may get three different answers, right? If regulations are written so broad that any bureaucrat can kind of put their own twist to it, then we need to tighten those up so that there is predictability. And when you call to ask a question to any government agency, you're going to, 9 out of 10 times get the same answer from whoever it is that picks up the phone. And so I think that's the most efficient way to do it. President Trump has said for every one regulation in this term, he said for every one regulation, we're going to get rid of 10.
Yep.
And the president knows it. This is once again the value of having business people in office that understand that some of these regulations slow things down, which is why people who are really upset about our infrastructure, President Trump and the One Big Beautiful Bill, is looking to cut out and eliminate federal permitting because it just adds to the length of time it takes to get these jobs started. And when you add time, guess what? You add cost.
Right. Yep.
And so efficiency drives down price.
Yep. Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evans, it's always a pleasure to have you on, and we'll catch up with you again soon. Be safe out there.
Thanks so much, Joey. And I know I probably won't be talking to you next week because it'll be Thanksgiving. So I want to wish everybody a happy and blessed Thanksgiving. I hope you take this time to count all of our blessings and the people around the table being the biggest one.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family as well. That's it for this special weekend edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.